Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first podcast. I'm with my partner in crime, Dr. Ben Jespersen. Today, we're talking about everyday life as usual, focusing on anxiety today. Stick around and enjoy. You know what I mean?
That will be part of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like you and I have never had a hard time talking.
Yeah.
And that's what this is.
Exactly. Okay, well, we're recording.
Oh, yeah. Oh, great. Yeah. Great.
Let's pour some coffee here.
Oh, that's good.
It might be a little strong.
If you're going to err on one side.
Strong is the side.
Strong. Are you a tea guy?
Still got some.
Do you enjoy tea?
I do, but I don't drink it as much.
Yeah. Because I aspire to like tea, but I don't like it. I keep trying. But to me, I bring it up because it reminds me of weak coffee. Like it has the same, feeling to me.
Yeah.
Like well, this is great. Thanks, Sean.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right, so
there we go.
Wednesday morning, we got some sun out here.
Yeah.
This is really nice. This time of year is the best.
Perfect. Well, I guess we'll welcome everyone to the podcast.
Yeah.
This is Dr. Ben Jespersen. I'm Sean. We're going to introduce ourselves and go over some topic today and just talk. We're just chatting.
And go from there.
That's exactly it.
Well, how did we meet?
We
Maybe
met.
We'll start there.
Let's talk about how we met. I mean, it was a beautiful day, really. The sun was shining. I remember the sun was shining. The birds were chirping.
Yes.
We are here actually at one of Ben's practices, which is called You Thrive, downtown Calgary.
Yeah.
And I started seeing Ben for chiropractic reasons. But Ben is a doctor of chiropractic. Whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I've known you for at least 4 years now.
Yeah.
Since I moved to Calgary, and we've known each other professionally, obviously in that regard. We've talked personally, as here we are. Ben recently finished some graduate studies in psychology.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a shared sort of passion hobby in the sense that I'm nursing. And, we deal with people, we talk with people, we know people. And so that's kind of how we met. And, I walk straight up so people will know that,
right.
we still continue with our chiropractic work because I'm still walking upright. But, that's how we met. Why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself, just background. You start wherever you want. And I'll give a little bit. And, we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I've been a chiropractor for coming up on 16 years. And like Sean mentioned, that's how we met. And I've been a therapist for just over a year now. So I do both of those at this clinic. And outside of here, been married for 20 years, coming this July. To my wonderful wife, and I have 4 kids, 4 boys, 15, 13, 11, and 7.
Murray, Morris, Moses, and...
Mufasa.
Yeah. That name was a bit avant-garde, but
we risked it, but it really worked out.
It worked out. Yeah,
really
exactly.
He's
He's the lion of the family. He's the head.
He is. He has the mane of a lion. Actually, they all do.
Oh, good.
Which is a sore spot for me,
bit,
right?
Yeah, a little bit tender.
But that's okay. That's okay. Yeah.
So you tell me a little bit about starting chiropractic. And then kind of going from there, just the brass tacks type thing.
Yeah, I won't bore you for too long with this, but I did my undergraduate in history. I wanted to be a teacher. And then my grade 5 teacher, who I'm still connected with, he's a wonderful man. We still meet. He talked me out of being a teacher. He actually said, if you really want to do this, I'm going to encourage you. But I'm going to do everything I can to discourage you from doing that. Not taking anything away from that profession. at all. And actually, I look back and I still think that I would have enjoyed being a teacher. But I think after his probably 40 some years of being a teacher, he was probably burnt out at the end. And anyway, so then I had a couple years where I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew a couple people that were chiropractors, and they all just seemed to enjoy their life. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't know why, but they just seemed to enjoy their life. So that's actually what got me interested in chiropractic. These individuals I knew just seemed, yeah.
I have a comment, but I'm going to reserve it. Keep going with
reserve.
Keep going with that.
Hey, you can write it on the clipboard.
No. Like it's to tie into this, but I want to see what you say first because I don't want to preempt you. So,
but they just seemed to enjoy their life, and it had nothing to do with money or anything. It just there was no dread going to work, and I could just tell things seemed balanced in their lives in terms of just, again, enjoyability. And then I became interested in the human body, obviously, and then I went to chiropractic school, and that was that. And
then what led to?
There's been no turning back.
Psychology and whatnot.
Psychology, I've always been interested, but I started noticing within my patient population, a lot of my patients were coming in a lot. I would help them with their issues, but it just felt like a Band-Aid. So they were spending time and money on something that I actually wasn't able to fix. So I started looking into the mind-body connection. I started integrating stress and talking about different things that were going on. Some of these chiropractic sessions started feeling like counseling sessions, and I quickly realized I wasn't equipped for what people were telling me. So I was no longer the best person to help them.
And I'll put myself in that category as well, in the sense that you and I got talking about life as you do, and then and not necessarily in a psychological, sort of professional way, but just what do you think? And this is new, this is weird. I'm having this issue, and so I'll just vouch for that, saying like, even our sort of chiropractic sessions obviously always were in that sort of vein, and getting to know each other. But obviously, we get in, we do the chiropractic stuff, we do the body stuff, and then it's high five and see you later type thing.
For sure. But lots of other chatter within that, right? About life stuff as humans do. Mm-hmm. So then I decided, let's go to grad school, let's become a psychologist, and now I do both of them, and I love it. Yeah.
So my comment would be, and I've mentioned to students of mine and also co-students of mine in the past, because a lot of students, they're like, I really want to do ICU and I really want to do Emerge, and I'll never forget this girl that I went to school with, and she was A+ student on it, she top of the class, honors everything, and she really wanted to get emergency for her final preceptorship. And she totally could have thrived there, but she got labor and delivery, and she was not happy about it. And I said to this girl who, we keep names nameless here, obviously, I just said, look, give this a full shot. I think you're actually going to be really good at this. And she's still a labor and delivery nurse today. Cool. And for you, I think maybe why that teacher said that teaching wasn't for you is because for me, something I get from you is, you don't like to just be on the surface with people, and you kind of, what I mean? Go deep. Like I want to actually have an effect, and you can do that with students, but it's 8 months out of the year, and it's right on the surface, and then they're gone, and that's it. And again, respect to teachers. I still remember my junior high school teachers, my elementary school teachers, the ones that had an impact, but very difficult, or maybe more difficult, depending on who you are, to get deep in and affect that. So maybe that's why, I don't know, but I'm just putting that out there as a comment.
Either that, or he saw some red flags, right? And he thought this guy shouldn't be an influence on kids
and children.
And
they need to pass puberty, get to the age of voting and consent, and then they have a chance.
Then they have a chance. But let's not get this guy in their lives at these developmental ages, because he's bizarre. But so about you, obviously I know about you, but let's learn more about you.
So I was in restaurants for 22 years, starting in age 14, making some money, and I did that for 22 years. I love people. I love that. I love that sort of thing. Hence, and I loved the restaurant industry in the sense of it's usually people are there for a positive reason.
Yeah.
Birthday, graduation,
Yeah.
something.
Celebration.
So you're always actually with people at their best for the most part, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you get to learn about them, break bread from other countries, from other places. And I mean, I'm still friends with some of my regular customers, right? Because you get into that sort of thing, not dissimilar to yourself, where you build relationships through your chiropractic, and now you're doing some extra on top of that.
For sure.
So for me, I loved it, and that's why I did it for so long, and I thrived in it. I did sommelier training, like it wasn't just a job; I made it a career. But I just wanted to, again, maybe similarly to you, or maybe in a bit different way, but I wanted to have more effect, deeper effect. And nursing was where it was at. A lot of people say, well, medicine is great. They're wonderful. I love my doctors, and you'll probably hear a lot about that on the show and stuff like that. But for me, it's about being here, and that's where nurses are. Doctors are here as well, but they're not as there, obviously. And so that's where I wanted to be with it, and just have that interaction with people. So then I started nursing 7-8 years ago, and mostly in pediatrics. Love children, been changing diapers since I was 8 years old, which if my cousins were watching will be a little embarrassed that I've seen their business. And
we can name names here.
Let's do it. Spelling will be on the screen.
Yeah.
And email address and phone number, address, so that was part of it, as well as to get back to a little bit of a pediatric population. Not that I worked with it professionally in restaurants, but have that, and families, and so I've just kind of run the gamut through nursing, wide variety of things, teaching, working on the floors, working all sorts of different places, and this part of this, what we've talked about, is having a larger impact. We love the face-to-face, we love everything, but we wanted to share our experiences, our knowledge, whatever we want to call that. Ben's credentials will be put up on the screen, my credentials will be put on the screen, but it'll only be put up once because it's just what we did for school, so people know. But it's just about sharing, mostly experience, right? And this isn't a professional, you're with a professional nurse or a professional psychologist, or a doctor. You have your own personal psychologist, your own personal nurse, your own personal doctor. You should be having those conversations, but just have a wider impact and share stories and stuff. So
for sure.
Yeah, that's about it. I think I hit everything. I'm don't have any kids or married. That never crossed my path.
Tell us why. Tell us more about that.
Let me lie down.
Maybe we'll get into that.
But let's talk about it a little bit. It's great because we've come by it organically. It's just never happened for me. A lot of people, they say, "Oh, you don't have kids," because I love kids. I gawk at children, which in this day and age, as a middle-aged man, is creepy, and I'm surprised I haven't been arrested yet, but I just can't, I just love kids, and
it's for the right reasons.
It's, I know exactly, but it's hard to get through the zoo with people looking at the animals, and I'm gawking at the kids' ponytails and baseball caps and fat cheeks and stuff like that. Exactly. So it's just the sort of thing never happened as far as that goes, and so here I am, single and ready to mingle. That's going to stay in there. But it's bad. It's bad. That's a bad comment there.
Yeah, that's okay. But the story's
everyone turned off just at that point.
The story's not over necessarily, right? Yeah. But I've always found it interesting. Obviously, I have 4 kids, but I've always found our conversations interesting in kind of furthering that your interest, even asking me about my kids, and your insight actually as a nurse dealing with the pediatric population. So while I have a perspective as a dad, you bring insight. I was talking with my wife about this last night, knowing we were going to be talking today. You bring an insight from not being a dad and not being a parent and seeing things from a different lens, which I've always found cool, a fully different perspective.
Valuable in a different way, right?
Yeah.
I can't say oh, I know exactly what you feel.
Yeah.
No, of course I don't. I'm not a father.
Yeah.
I don't have biological children. I've helped rear a lot of children, but they've never been my own and stuff like that. But I think, yeah, it's valuable in another sense. You know what I mean? I've to the surprise of many nurses, like nurses who are very, female driven. They're very surprised when I can help a woman breastfeed who hasn't been able to breastfeed. And then how am I able to do it? Well, I bring a different perspective. Do I know what it's like? Of course not.
No.
Right? But yeah, it just brings a different perspective. And I do like that, sort of aspect of it. And hopefully, I hope people can appreciate it. And I know you do. And I think that's one reason, again, like you said, we have great conversations about, family and whatnot. And you bring, obviously, personal experience with it as well, and then I can offer sometimes an outside perspective and maybe remove some of that.
Well, a professional perspective from your work too. Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
for sure.
So that's kind of the beginnings.
That's the origin story.
That's the origin story. It's there. It's not exciting, but here we are.
It is.
Yeah, exactly.
It is.
Yeah, they're both sort of mediocre stories, but
Yeah.
people now know.
At best.
At best,
At
exactly.
Yeah.
5.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
But delivered in an 8.
Yeah.
Delivered in an 8.
With some room to grow.
With some room to grow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What coffee is this, by the way?
This is a local roaster. You guys.
This is not a promo, by the way. This
No,
is
no.
not
Hey, if any coffee wants to sponsor, and we will show other coffees because there's a coffee place next door that we'll put the coffee on. This is called Rosso.
Oh,
Rosso.
yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've always said Rosso, but the spelling implies Rosso. Rosso.
I think it's probably Rosso. I'm just not. We're in Canada, not Italy. I don't know, but maybe I don't know. Maybe it's from.
But I don't
else.
know. Let's. I'll find that out. But this is really good.
Yeah, it's a little bit strong, but again, I'm on that side as well for a bit strong. But yeah, I like to use local, obviously, as much as I can. So local bean, all the equipment's from local coffee place called 8 Ounce Coffee in Calgary here. You can order online. They have wonderful coffee. Hey, let's do a little promo. Why not? We're here, right? They have a whole bunch of different coffees. They have coffees made for them as well. Rosso is one, and yeah, we'll feature one. I should have brought a bag, but we'll bring a bag next time. We can show.
This is really good.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
Like, this
Cheers.
is super good. Thank you. I'll take a free coffee. Like I can get pretty excited about.
I think
free
that's
coffee.
pretty much why you're here, actually. So, but that's fine. That's good.
Yeah. So what are we talking about today?
Yeah. So we rolled this around a little bit as far as what should we talk about, and the big elephant in the room, I think, is just the state of the world, and obviously that's a huge conversation, but mostly. Anxiety and the anxieties that are on top of people. Everyday life, economy might not be the best. Well, I mean, it isn't the best, but I mean, for most people, it's not so good. There's lack of jobs. There's prices are going up. People are balancing 2 jobs. There's the job stress itself, never mind the financial stress, which are separate.
There's a general rat race of, especially if kids and extracurricular and the pressure we put upon ourselves. And I also feel like, is there some political tension maybe in the world?
A little bit.
Like just a little bit?
Just a little bit, just a little bit. Yeah. And, as we will talk about, we are apolitical in this, as far as that goes. Everyone's welcome in the podcast, but there's so much of that political tension, like you said, regardless of what side you're on, regardless of who you voted for. We just finished an election in Canada, as some people will know, and there's tension regardless of where you're at with that. Yeah. So, but like you mentioned, people have kids, that's always pressure. Yeah. And we could just rattle off for hours, but
we could pick one of those.
For me, when we were talking about this, and I asked you kind of like, what are your thoughts on, the pressure and how to deal with it? So that's kind of where I came to.
As a parent, or just all of these things?
All of it, but also like, wanting to be relatable in a practical way. I come at all of my stuff with a practical example because that's how I relate it to a story to people. So, just kind of what we're seeing out there and stuff like that. For me, I work at what's called 811 in Calgary, which is a teletriage. You can call that number. You talk to a nurse on the phone about any of your symptoms that you have. But we also talk about psychology, different things, and we also have mental health lines. So for me, it bore out of like how much I hear of this. A lot of it for me was access to care, and you think, well, Canada, there's universal health care. Shouldn't there be access? But there really isn't. There's a shortage of doctors, and people are sick and or getting sicker or worse while they're doing that. And that's kind of what brought it forward to me. But
so we have free access through our tax dollars, but it's not always accessible, is the point.
That's right. People can't find family doctors and stuff, and their health is failing, or something's with their kids. They're trying to get something diagnosed with their kids. They can't get a pediatrician, they can't get a specialist and stuff like that. But it was that stress and that anxiety is where I kind of came to, kind of how I'm approaching this topic today. But what about yourself? Like, what do you, like, what are you thinking as far as that approach and like for yourself?
In terms of what I'm seeing with stress in the world, or how I deal with it from clients or even myself, or
anything,
any of it. Well, yeah, I mean, I do think in this new field I'm in, and you don't have to be in the field of psychology to know people are stressed or to feel stress or have a friend or loved one who's stressed about these things. But yeah, it's ubiquitous regardless of your financial situation or marital status, kids, no kids. It is ubiquitous. I think the big thing is just this, we've named all these reasons, all these topics that have introduced stress into our lives. But I think there's just this general sense of unease that many people have. And some can name it, some can know why, but just this general sense of unease. Even if people have a stable job, so they're not worried about their finances, I think people are just worried about all the unknowns right now. I mean, even AI is another example I'm hearing more and more people talk about. That's directly correlated to work. Like, will I have a job in 10 years? So there's just a lot of...
So people are worried about that.
People are worried about it.
That's a real life example then that you're hearing.
Yeah, and we're
AI.
seeing, and obviously this is not a novel thing I'm saying, but jobs that were always, jobs that we never could have foreseen that might be at risk, like a taxi driver or a bus driver or a semi-truck driver. Those now we see the future that those could be on the chopping block. So
not even the people at the computer writing or whatever. This is physical jobs and stuff.
Yeah, and the purpose obviously of today's chat is to not increase people's fears, but it's to maybe address again that they're ubiquitous and maybe talk about some things that we can do about it. Because one thing I find, I always go back to common humanity, something personally that calms me a little bit if I start having some anxieties over things is, for better or for worse, because these things are ubiquitous, there is a shared common humanity experience that we're all walking in this together. And I find comfort personally in that.
Yeah.
That is one of my tools that I use to navigate these things.
Yeah.
If you're in a dark hole all alone, and many of us have been at different times, that's one thing, but to be walking through a lot of these things, not just as a country, but as, the
community,
world, the community of the world.
Different levels,
Yeah, I find that can have the potential to bring us together.
Right. Yeah. For part of, and you kind of mentioned a little bit of this as far as fear of the unknown, right?
Yeah.
That's unknown is and the research shows that that's one of the biggest things of anxiety, just in a general sense, right?
Yeah.
What's going to happen tomorrow, right? Like you said with the AI, what my job, my kids, what's going to happen with my kids tomorrow? Yeah. They're seeing these things on TikTok, internet, whatever. Just that sort of fear. One thing that I wanted to pick your brain about today is rumination.
Yeah.
Because I think rumination, first off, it's something I struggle with in a big way. I've always been, people say overthinker. that's a nice way of putting it when
Yeah.
you're thinking about positive things and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's rumination when you're thinking about sort of all of those, you know, unknowns and stuff like that. And for myself, you know, I would say that it's probably the thing that causes me the most stress is the rumination, because then it brings everything in instead of it just being like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this?
Yeah.
It's the one thing, you know, or my health, or I can't see my doctor or whatever. It's just, it kind of brings everything. And one of my questions that I have for you is just kind of like, first off, you know, what do you see with that, you know, in a sort of base level? You know, we don't have to get too much into it, but also tips, tricks, things to help deal with that. You know, general for people, you know, specific, like what's your take on that?
Yeah. So rumination. Again, that's another word like Rosso and Rosso.
Yeah.
Ruminate is what I have.
Yeah. Ruminate. Yeah.
I love ruminate.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a big thing, and I think that is something that we all probably, especially now, struggle with. But yeah, it's all about identifying, you know, things may be worth ruminating over. So if there's a real time threat that you need to take care of, I mean, the way our brains work is we are gonna think about it and focus on it and ruminate over it because we need to take care of it. But the problem is when we let all of these things in, many of which we have no control over. And that's kind of the thing to look for, right? Do I have control over this? Do I have control over this aspect of tomorrow? Do I have control over what's going to happen in the world? Do I have control over, I was going to say our health. In some ways we do. Yeah. Other ways we don't, right?
Correct, yeah. Something can pop out.
Yeah. So the challenge is identifying areas that we're ruminating in that we actually don't have control over. And when our brain starts creating worry or making assumptions that are not based on fact, that's when we get caught in this trap. It's called the cognitive triangle, where these automatic thoughts that are usually negative about ourselves or our future come in, and then we start ruminating on that, and we make assumptions about the future, again, that are not grounded in fact. They're not irrational fears, but nonetheless, we don't have proof that they're true. And then within this cognitive triangle, it goes from these automatic thoughts that start coming in, and that's going to affect how we feel. And then it goes over and affects our behavior, and then it just goes in this loop, and then we get stuck in this triangle. And that's where anxiety and many forms of depression kind of live. We trap ourselves in these. So for myself and my clients as well, we identify and pay attention. What are these automatic negative thoughts that are coming? And we need to shut those down. Again, if there's a real-time threat, if we're in a back alley and someone's coming towards us with a knife, we don't go through this process. We do what we need to get out of it. But yeah, it's identifying what are these thoughts about myself or my future that, again, I don't have proof are true, or I don't have control over them. And for me personally, I've done this with myself, and I get clients to do this. I write them down. So I become familiar with them, and they're sneaky. There's a lot of them.
So let me just pause there for a second.
Yeah.
And is it mostly specific to the person, or are there like general things where you're like, or is there both, or what does that look like for you when you write? If you were talking to me, write things down, we would go through the sort of steps of like, okay, you were thinking that, and then you were looking at this, and then you were looking like, write those things down, like the specific things down?
Yeah, so an example could be, well, I have a recent example from a client that I won't name, obviously. A merger is going to happen with the company they're with. And their response, which is not irrational, is already going a couple steps ahead and becoming fearful that after that merger I'm going to be laid off and I won't have a job. And then the next step after that is, will I ever be able to find a job again? And then with that, the offshoot is, I'm screwed financially, right? It's over.
Lose the house, lose
all of
the
that,
family, whatever. Yeah.
And everything that comes along with that. Again, it's not irrational.
Yeah.
Those fears are rational, and our brains are scanning for danger, right? And we all have backgrounds. You might come up with a scarcity mindset because maybe you grew up in a family with no money, or maybe a parent had lost their job and you had seen these things happen. So it's identifying that thought where you're ruminating and you've already made an assumption, I'm probably going to be let go, without the knowledge that that's likely going to happen. This is not easy to do, but it's writing that thought down. So I don't know if that answered your question, but that would be a specific one. Yeah. So I am going to be let go. Yeah. I will not be able to find work again. I'm going to lose my house. Write all of those thoughts down, and then anything related to those. What you can also do with each of those thoughts is you can put one of those thoughts on a piece of paper and just allow yourself to write down any fear related to that thought. Kind of tease it out to the very end. And then you can realize how much fear is associated with each of those automatic negative thoughts. And if you're consciously able to say that and think it and write it on a piece of paper, your subconscious is really working hard on that stuff. So, and then what you do with that is you take those and you acknowledge why you're feeling that, and you have self-compassion and grace on yourself, because these are often rational thoughts. Not all of them are. And then you do whatever you can to not let them in. So for many people, it works to visualize a stop sign. So when you shut your eyes, you can't see through the stop sign. You don't let that thought through, and it takes practice, it takes work. Yeah. But over time, behavior, again, exactly.
Over time,
over time. I mean, because if we ruminate in these thoughts and we're just captured in fear, obviously it's going to drive up our anxiety, often depressive symptoms, and then we see that behavior falls off. I used to enjoy doing this. I used to work out more, and now I just can't. So it just goes in a vicious cycle.
Yeah. I think that you've touched on a few things. One of them will be sort of quite thematic going through a lot of our conversations, which is accept your emotions. Like, your emotions are real. I tell people that all the time. Yeah. It's okay to feel it. A lot of people think that, oh, well, I shouldn't, especially with, it's a negative emotion, right? I shouldn't feel that. And I'm like, no, you should. There's a reason. And again, with this person, there's a legitimate fear. That person could lose their job. Yeah. Is the chances, 0.001? Sure. Yeah. Like you said, is it sort of probable? Maybe not, and that's why you go through that. But feeling the emotions is one of the first things. They are real. There's a reason you're feeling that. It's not no reason. Now, you can step back and look, like you said, you kind of take stock of it, and then you step back and look and say, okay, why am I feeling this? How appropriate is this sort of reaction to it? And again, well, Ben, you're the best one at the company. Like, you'd lose your job, and your sales figures are the best, and blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe I don't need to feel that, but it doesn't mean what you felt before was wrong, right? You've adjusted that, based on confronting it and going through there. And then you've also brought in, a sort of behavioral technique of like, okay, so now that we've accepted our emotions with grace, we now can put the stop sign in place because we've now accepted those things. And again, I think that will be something that's kind of thematic, that I really think that a lot of people, and I tell people on the phone, because they're worried about their child, and there's a colleague of yours that you work with, again, we won't name names, who her son's going for surgery, and she's super nervous. And I'm like, yeah, that's absolute. Of course you are. Your son's going under the knife, man.
That's valid.
And you still get that sort of like, oh, I shouldn't be so scared. I'm like, no, that's one of the best reasons to be scared. There's not really too many more good reasons to be scared besides
because you care.
That's right, exactly. And once you can do that, and I said to her, I'm like, and because I've dealt with it from the other side, from the nursing side, when kids are going to go in for surgery or a procedure, cry all you like. That's good. That's actually a good thing.
It is.
And there's legitimacy there. So I really think that, again, I love that you've kind of touched on that in an organic way. As we've talked about, I relate to those specific examples.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of it for me. And I did some research too before this conversation, as far as like, well, what's out there as far as rumination and things to do. And some of the things I'm like, and some of the things I'm like, oh, yeah, that's pretty good. one of the things I have a hard time with is that sort of stop sign. But one of the things I looked up is just the distraction, and I'm like, you know what? That's such a good thing, but yet it's something that just kind of goes out of our mind, or my mind anyway, because it seems so feeble. Oh, Sean, just distract yourself. Well, it's not going to fix anything, but it'll stop you at that point from rumination. Exactly, it's a tool, right? Once you've gone through that exception of okay, I'm having a rumination. This is the reality of the situation. There is some unknown. Now I realize I can't control it, and you kind of get there. Again, just putting sort of stop points in there. Stop sign's really good, but even just distraction where it's like, okay, just move to something else, because you know that where you're going is a sort of endless circle. It's folly, and you're going to about to waste some time. So, man, read a quick chapter of a book, or look outside for 15 seconds and just whatever. Look at your children, look at your calendar, something like that. And I just thought that one, it seemed so feeble for me, but I was like, oh man, it's actually such a really good tool.
It is.
And stuff like that. And I think part of the thing, people, myself definitely included, probably yourself as well, we just don't realize how sometimes those small things can actually be the biggest thing, because it just seems so silly when you step back and take stock of it. Oh, put a distraction. Oh, it's like, I've been hearing that since kindergarten, and I was acting out. You know what I mean? Like, okay, let's distract Sean with this or something like that. You know what I mean? Sorry, Mrs. Smith. No, I'm just kidding. That's
you named
not just Miss Smith or Joe. You'll get Smith and Jones.
Have you seen that Seinfeld, by the way? Bennis, you name names.
You name names.
Hop Sing.
Yeah.
That's come to my mind here.
I have seen all of the Seinfeld.
Yeah.
I'm not as familiar. I have a really good friend in Edmonton who will quote everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But no, Seinfeld is really good. I think also for me, one of my sort of tools, and this is a tool that I think can actually curb a lot of things, is planning and budgeting. So budgeting, obviously, people think of money, but I think budgeting is just a sort of mechanism of planning, right? Okay, you have 4 boys, you got soccer, you got music, you got some leisure time. And so you need to budget, right? And that takes some of that unknown out. Just to use that silly example, how am I going to get to soccer practice? I got a client. Oh man, this client is really in the depths. I really need to help this client out. My son's game, the music. Where's the wife? Can she take both? And that planning and stuff like that can really help. That obviously life comes up, like I just said. Things come up, but I think that's one of the tools that has worked best for me. And part of that is putting things into perspective and goal setting, right? Again, it sounds really cliche, goal setting. How much have you heard that? But it's just the smallest little thing that, okay, what's my goal with this merger type thing? What's my goal here? It's to keep my job or to get a thing. So what can I do to do that? And
what's in my control?
That's right. What's in my control? And part of that is the goals, right? When you have that sort of your sights set on something, you'll move towards it.
Yeah.
And if it's being laid off, it's not like you're going to just manifest being laid off necessarily, but you will move yourself there. People will see that and feel that. And setting up a plan can be so good. And for myself, because my brain can be so scattered and ruminate, that's the part for me where it's just like, I just got to shut it down.
Yeah.
Grab a piece of paper or my calendar or my organizer or whatever I got going, and just write out what's your goal here.
Yeah.
Okay. You have X, Y, Z on your plate. So tackle it, prioritize it, and tackle it.
Yeah.
That for me is one of the things that just reduces the anxiety. I'm not type A where I need everything just like smack.
Yeah.
But I'm actually way on the other end in a lot of ways in the way my brain goes.
Yeah.
You look at my stuff, it's just a mess. There's arrows pointed all over the place. Well, you know what I mean? That's my brain, right? I'm a top-down thinker. I'm a wide view thinker.
Yeah.
And sometimes looking at that really specific stuff is difficult to me. And sometimes it actually just goes over my head, some of the simplest things in a deep regard. So that's kind of one of the things that I do. But also, it's like, okay, I need to get out of that cycle to get there. And that's why that sort of stop sign that you've mentioned can be such a good tool and stuff like that. So,
well, what you're talking about, the budgeting, like money, time is finite too, and we only have so much. But when we have a lot of chatter in our heads and a lot of busyness, getting things down on paper, goals, budgeting, sometimes it can give us a bit of reprieve and release it from our mind. Part of our brain can think, okay, I've kind of captured it there. I can take a little bit of a break now, right? So that's an excellent tool. Yeah.
I think that, like we talked about earlier, I always like to bring up practicality. It's great for us to just sit here and say, oh, put a piece of paper down and write. Man, I got 4 kids at home and I'm a single mom or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And for me, I think that something even, when you got the whiteboard at home, writing down a couple things like that, you don't need to just do a full novel. Your piece of paper can be a sentence or 2 sentences, right? If you want it in the house, other people will see it, sure. If you want it in your bedroom, you just write it down or whatever. But it, like you said, it's writing it down. It's that physical act. Yeah. But I just like to let people know that it doesn't have to be, oh, I got to sit down for 30 minutes and write half a novel out. Everything we're saying here should be easily able for you guys to do a easily approachable, kind of easily connected and stuff like that.
Modifiable.
And that's right, exactly. You know what I mean? Yeah. If you have, your kid in front of you, it's a busy day. Yeah. Ask them what they think, and you don't have to get into it into a big level of like let them. I don't want them to worry about my worries, but it's just someone to bounce a little something off of. And you'd be so surprised that you just throw something at a kid of like, hey, mom thinks like there's a bunch going on like this. What do you think? Well, give you a couple words like that, and it just gets your mind out of it. You know what I mean?
For sure.
These things are so, easily to engage, and you can go deep with them if you got the time and things like that, but they're so easy to sort of engage. One of the things that I've written down here is, some of the things I actually don't like, and I'd love your feedback on this when it comes to things like rumination and stuff like that. When people tell other people, oh, you can handle this. Well, you don't know me. You can get past this.
You'll be okay.
You'll be okay. Exactly. Yeah. I really don't like those things.
It's going to work out. That's
right. Yeah. What would you say to like, for someone either saying that to someone or just that sort of thing? Like, like what would you say about that? Yeah.
Well, first off, I'll say everything I'm saying is based on my experience as a professional, but it's different for everyone. So I'm not giving advice necessarily. I'm giving very general advice here. Yeah. So obviously if anyone's in a situation, a really tough situation where they need a professional or to talk to someone, this is not to replace that. I just wanted to say that first. But yeah, I think that comes from, I can only speak as a Canadian. I think that's part of our Canadian culture of this kind of polite nicety. We want things to be okay for other people. And we feel like by saying that, it's going to make it okay. But I think if someone's in a tough situation, what I've learned in this profession is we want to fix it for them. Sometimes that is making that comment that feels almost like a promise. You're going to be okay, which feels like a generous and kind thing to say. But I think a better approach is to reframe your mentality from trying to fix it or say something that's going to relieve the tension in the moment and just sit there with them. What do you need from me? That sounds really tough. I'm really sorry to hear about that. And just be there with them.
Yeah, and I think you're talking about something that I was going to bring. Obviously, I wanted to hear your opinion, is that the act of listening, right? And just recognizing that, hey, I'm hearing what you're saying, or I'm here to listen, or something like that. Just be with them and things like that. I think that's so helpful. Again, such a small thing, takes 2 seconds, and yet it can be really helpful.
Yeah, and in those moments, it's really understanding. It's uncomfortable. It's awkward when someone's in a bad situation and you can't help them. So again, we try to offer some reprieve. We try to press a pressure valve by, it's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. You'll get through this. Well, those things often are true. They're not always true. Yeah.
Okay. Now, from the other sort of, what's up?
Oh, I'm just laughing at myself because.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Okay, fair. Yeah, fair. Yeah. From the other side of it, like if if someone told me potentially like, Sean, it'll be okay. In my head, you know, there's that knee-jerk reaction. Even if I understand they're trying to help me, there's that knee-jerk reaction of like, you don't know if it'll be okay, right? So you don't know. You're not living my life. Like, you haven't been in my shoes and like this. And, you know, you can add another layer onto that of like, you know, you don't know how I deal with things emotionally or what I've been through type thing.
You don't know me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In a polite way, but yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone, like if that was you and I came to you and I'm like, you know, Ben, you know, everything is going to be all right. And you're like, no, Sean, like you don't, you know, like what would you say as far as like if I'm having those emotions, how would I deal with that when and part of that is stemming from this. Let me actually be clear because I need to obviously explain myself because my brain goes squirrely. Nobody understands me. Nobody gets
that would be the self-narrative.
Yeah.
That you relate to?
People don't get it. Yeah, Ben doesn't understand me, so he can't really help. So I can't really listen. Like, what do you tell people like that? You know what I mean? That's kind of where it comes from. In my head is like
what could be said to someone with that narrative?
Yes, yeah, or what do you think of that? Yeah, what could be said to them, or how someone who's feeling that, who's watching, what would you say to them of like, hey, you know, if you're feeling like that, maybe think of these things. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, the reality.
Maybe you don't have the answer to what's the meaning of life, Ben, but I want an answer.
Something much more existential. I mean, I think again, the approach, and there is not a one size fits all. It depends on each of our uniqueness and our relationship with that person. But if it was someone close to me that expressed that to me, I mean, my personal approach would be, you're right. I might not understand. I probably don't understand you. Are you okay? Or help me understand if it would be helpful for you. Or maybe I don't need to understand you. Maybe I don't need to. Maybe that's not the goal there. But again, kind of going back to, either help me understand or what do you need from me?
Yeah. And I think also, I think what you just said there is really good. A lot of times you don't need to understand.
No.
Right? Again, I don't necessarily need to understand exactly what it's like to have biological children to offer you something.
No.
It might not be the answer, and that's another part of it, I think, right? A lot of times people are looking for the answer. Well, you know, the answer for you, like you just alluded to, could be different than the answer for me. It depends on the person, right?
Yeah.
How I deal with it will be different. So for me, sometimes I want people to not look for the answer and just look for the process or the path. You know what I mean? Okay, well, the answer you might never get to.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
So the question is then, okay, well, but what are you doing, like as far as your path goes? Are you struggling with footing in this area, but your footing's very strong in this area? So why don't you go, you know, or you know, why don't you move this way with it, or this will help you?
Yeah.
Seems a little bit less anxious or stressful this way. Do you need to go that way? And stuff like that. So that's kind of one of the things I think about it. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
It makes sense.
Okay.
Maybe even exploring that need. You know, many people have the narrative, no one understands me. Many people don't relate to that narrative. So it could even be exploring, why is it important? Not challenging, but tell me why it's important to be understood. Do you feel alone? Do you feel, you know, do you feel dismissed? Do you feel,
For me, I have that feeling sometimes, and when my mental health gets low, the world closes, the universe becomes this small.
Yeah.
And one thing I've worked on for a technique for myself and I know I need to do it is I need to reach out to people, because I get into that sort of thing and I don't want to bother. I'm not doing well. I got a lot of stress on my plate. Ben's doing well. He's happy. He's going out to the lake with the kids. Exactly. I don't want to bring him down. So I start to get in here.
And I appreciate when you don't bring me down.
Yeah.
So keep doing that.
I will not.
That's not true.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm just like, if I just put that burden on Ben, my life's going to be worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, we're joking about it, but it actually is something that kind of filters in, sometimes even just subconsciously. I just realized saying that subconsciously. So for me, it's about, I like to I try to bring in because it's not natural for me. And again, I recognize that a lot of the audience potentially, and part of the target audience I have in mind is that quote unquote single mom or single dad of 3 kids, and you're just sitting there. And, you know, part of that is my mom was a single mom of 4 kids, and I saw her from my sort of thing, and I didn't understand a lot when I was a kid and even a teenager. Like, what did I know? I mean, what do I know now? But you see my point, and I can just see, for me, a lot of times it's like how do we get people out of that loneliness? For me, I've made the thing to reach out, but I don't know, what would you tell me if I wasn't reaching out? And I'm like, Ben, nobody understands. I got to deal with this on my own. You know, what would you say to that sort of lonely place when it comes to the stress of the world's on you? Like, what something, you know? And again, you know, we're just talking. This is just thing. This isn't, you know, we've alluded to it a couple times. This isn't a professional session.
No.
You guys wouldn't want to see that, although it probably would make a lot of money.
Well, again,
just in general, personally, like, what would you tell me as far as you know, the world's I'm here and I push the world out, and I'm really I feel really alone in my struggle.
Yeah. Again, I mean, going back to self-compassion, it's not the obvious place people go, but when they get down like this and they think, I don't want to reach out, I don't want to bring Ben down, and obviously I was joking, chat with me anytime.
I got the hint.
But we become hard on ourselves. Going back to rumination, what's wrong with me?
Yes. Yeah.
So we need to go back to self-compassion. And going back in that triangle I was talking about, a behavior, I don't want to derail us here, but I said it starts with these thoughts and then goes to feelings and how we feel and behavior. But if you insert a positive behavior like reaching out to a friend, even if you have this narrative, that's probably an automatic negative narrative. I don't want to bring them down, or I don't want to burden them. I think it's important to go back to that healthy behavior. I am going to reach out to Ben. I'm going to reach out to a friend, a trusted friend, a trusted family member. Being self-compassionate. Self-compassionate. I know I feel like a burden. I don't want to bring them down, but this is a behavior that's helpful for me. It's a trusted friend that cares about me. But I would also, like, personally, if I had a narrative I have other narratives. I have robust narratives in my mind that are not always kind and generous to myself. One of them is not, no one understands me. I don't have that thought in my mind. No one understands me, and I'm not sure why, but I think if it came to my mind, I would want to explore, why is that important for me, for people to understand? Not challenging it, like, what's wrong with me, but is it?
I don't feel that
siloed,
exactly all the time, but I do feel it sometimes. I think maybe we all do, maybe even subconsciously, but part of that is just that connection, like how, you know, we all crave connection.
Yes.
The studies have been in, you know, for hundreds of years, including some unethical studies back in the 1800s, as far as human connection, human contact. You will die without it, right? And I think for me that sort of stems with it. I don't have that sort of conscious thought where I'm like, nobody understands me and therefore, but it's just about that aloneness, right? Oh, I feel so alone in this. And part of it is because people don't understand me. Little emergency vehicles, if people are picking that up on the mic. But you see my point? You know, it stems from that. So that's kind of
so the underlying beneath that is a loneliness.
Loneliness,
Yeah. And then the antidote there, one of the antidotes is, I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to bring anyone down. But what's the antidote? One of the antidotes for loneliness is reaching out. The challenge is, we're all fallible. We've probably all reached out to a friend that's let us down. We've reached out to a friend that is busy. Actually, something I want to bring up, we probably don't have time today, but is...
We are all the time.
You know, I carry a guilt myself because I do have 4 kids, and if I'm going to err on one way in terms of my time, it's to lean into my family. So I think with some of my friends without kids, my fear has always been that maybe they feel less valued in my life, and maybe you know, my busyness, and I hate using the word busy because we're all busy. Let's just acknowledge that.
Exactly.
Parents, just because we have kids doesn't mean our life is more important or necessarily busier than others, but yeah, going back, I feel like I've probably let down some friends in terms of them probably wishing they could reach out and thinking Ben might not have time for me. So we've all experienced maybe that rejection.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back, it is leaning into one of the antidotes. That's community. The challenge is we don't always feel like it when we're feeling down.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned this a little bit just a minute ago, and I'll just go a bit deep with it. You know, having that grace with yourself, and part of what I think about when you say that, and before we get to the community, I got to be with myself first and understand myself, is to say, to have that grace, to me that means, well, I shouldn't say it means, but what I like to think about is, okay, what if instead of me, it was somebody else, like my brother or sister or
The
kid.
reframing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, what would I do if that was my loved one?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I would do this. Well, why don't you just do that with yourself, right?
The self-compassion.
Have that, exactly, right? Like you said, that grace and that. And again, such a simple thing. Oh yeah, you know, this, that, and the other thing, but we really don't do it. And I tell you, it's something that I've brought in my mind a bit to be like, would you do this for Ben? Of course I'd do it for Ben. Well, why wouldn't you do it for yourself? Well, I should be doing it for myself then.
Yeah.
And so to just kind of put it in there.
Yeah, that's a really great reframe. That's really important.
Yeah, I mean, part of it just stems from that sort of pediatric nurse in me about children. What would I do for this child? Well, I would do so much for that child, this sick child or this whatever, or family, these parents who are just going through it. What would I do? I would, and you know, nursing is, as you know, first responders and other things, and a lot of other people, but it's that sort of self-sacrifice, right? We self-sacrifice yourself, right? You self-sacrifice. You got to give a bit of yourself to listen to people, to do these things. Well, if you can't do that for yourself, you're not going to be able to do that for other people. And I always tell that if you can't take care of yourself, you can't be the best parent you can be. You can't be the best worker, sibling, partner. You have to take care of yourself. That doesn't mean that everything goes by the wayside and you get to shove other people to the side, but sometimes you need to prioritize that time, budgeting that time and that work in order to say, like, look, you know, wife, husband, spouse, whatever, I don't feel like I'm loving you as much as I can, or this, or I recognize, you know, whether you had a disagreement or not, or things just don't feel as intimate as they used to be. But guess what? I need to focus this in order to get that. And I tell you, people just, it's not a natural thing. It's always, okay, well, Ben's upset. What should I do for Ben? Okay, that's true, but are you doing this too? And vice versa, right? And you've spread that to anyone, your coworkers, your friends. Your coworkers, obviously, it takes a totally different shape than what it does for your spouse.
For sure.
But it's the same thing. What is, you know, Sean, my coworker, what can I do for him? It looks like he's going through this, or he's got some deadlines, he's really stressed out, big thing. Okay, and then same thing with yourself. Well, I'm stressed out, I'm pulled apart. Yes, I want to help Sean, I'm going to touch base quickly, but I need to refocus my efforts and kind of go and stuff like that. So
For sure.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, let's just acknowledge being ourselves is not an easy task, because
100%.
we know, even if you're a good person, we know all of our thoughts.
Yeah.
We know the good thoughts. We know the struggle thoughts. We know all of these things.
I think we should make that our next conversation. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead. Keep going.
I like that. But even, again, at baseline, if you're a good person and care about other people and care about the world and care about, selfless and all of those things, again, we know ourselves too well to sometimes have self-compassion on ourselves. We know that at times we're greedy. We know that at times we're selfish. We know that we can sometimes have malice towards other people or hold resentment to others. We know that we're jealous. We know all of those things. And again, those are ubiquitous. So I think that is an underlying current that makes us have a narrative sometimes of, if they only really knew, or we just, we
Yes, I've actually heard that on a different podcast, and I can't remember which one it was, literally this week. So funny that you mentioned that. That's out in the ether.
I thought this was a brand new idea. I didn't know this was ever gonna.
Amazing you came up with it. Yeah,
be out there.
Yeah, we'll make some original works with that.
Yeah.
I think we should wrap this up because Ben's costing me a lot of money here for this. No, I'm just kidding. I just want to touch, kind of bridge to the sort of the next thing of what you said of like being yourself. It's one thing that I very humbly and thankfully get a lot of compliments about, of like, I'm just myself. And part of that is, it's not that I don't care what other people think, but I realize that it's not the end of the world, and it's okay even if they think not the best things of me. Why? Because I'm imperfect. But it takes a lot of courage.
Yes.
A lot of courage. And again, I've had a lot of, humbly, you know, a lot of compliments of like, man, I could have never said that to that girl.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh man, I would have kicked myself in the rear for the rest of my life if I never said that to that girl. And she didn't, you know, denied me or whatever.
And to be
like,
clear, this is not derogatory what you said, but it's approaching a girl, right?
But that's what I mean,
Maybe
right?
That's
what I mean. And I do have some example, and maybe I'll share, you know, sort of next time. But it's like, no, I'm like, no, I better go do this. I'll never get this chance again, right? If I don't shoot my shot and stuff. But it's courage. But that's about just being yourself and like having to do that. And I do struggle with it, like everyone does, like you said.
We all do.
Because guess what? There is some bad things inside here, in everything, and it's that, oh well, if Ben sees that, like he's gonna think that I'm just a piece of human trash, and maybe there's actually some truth to it, but it's usually probably quite small, and I'm overthinking it. But
for sure,
we'll jump on that for the next time.
I would like
stuff
to.
like that.
But
Any closing? Yeah.
Well, I was going to say the target before we close is never. I think there's this narrative of, I don't care what people think of me, and that's never the target. Of course, we care and we should care.
Yes.
We don't want to give that up. So it's the reframe that you've done, and that is, you know, it's. Well, I forget your exact reframe, but again, it's trying to be an authentic version of yourself and knowing that not everyone's going to like you.
Yeah. I learned that very young.
Desire is that.
I learned that very young, and I'm so thankful I learned it in high school, because I thought I wanted everyone to like me, as anyone does in high school.
Yes.
But I'm just like, I just realized that I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and I don't need to be.
No.
And it does, and it hurt a lot back then, and it still hurts a bit now, especially if it's someone you like and respect.
Yeah.
You know, like yourself, if it was like, Sean, well, I don't really, you know, I would be disappointed. I'd be like, oh, I really respect Ben. I really like Ben. But it's just, like, guess what? That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
There's people that you want to pursue romantically, male, female, you know, opposite sex, same sex, whatever, and you just really like them, and they just aren't into you.
It's going to happen.
And it stings.
Yeah, it sucks.
And you kind of bring it and move on. But yeah, that's a big can of worms. Let's open that up next time.
That'd be fun.
We'll see what's going on there.
That'd be fun.
Closing thoughts? Anything you want to impart with people?
There's no. I have no more wisdom. But yeah, we'll just continue having these conversations and hopefully bring value and maybe even some entertainment.
Yeah. The 7 people that watch this will hopefully will get really
and 7.
good stuff.
Let's not fool ourselves. 7's the target. Probably 6 months from now.
Yeah. And that includes like you forcing your 4 kids, your spouse. I'll force a couple people, and that's
so we might be at 8 or 9.
We'll be 8 or 9. Yeah. We will put the socials up and contact info for You Thrive as far as people would like to look at physical services. I do also get my massage here as well. And there's, you know, acupuncture, physio, and all that stuff, which is great. There's psychology services. Ben has a team here as well that works with him for psychology. And even if you just want to reach out to Ben and get information in your area of like the greater Calgary area, you know, as far as if you can't make it all the way downtown, this is downtown Calgary, and not everyone can come all the way here, and stuff like that. And we will talk a little bit more about, you know, again, I want this, you know, and we talked about this, we want this sort of thing to be reachable for everyone. Not everyone can afford psychology services. So we will talk a little bit more about that, but I will put the contact info and socials and stuff like that. The socials for here will be there. Press all the buttons, the thumb buttons and the subscribe buttons, or whatever the case is. And we'll continue these conversations. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Love it.
Next time.
Yeah. Oh, I got a fart. No, I'm just kidding. We'll leave that in there. Yeah.